Okay, moving on. The country's only emergency dive team, based in Richmond, is being dismantled. It's responsible for dozens of underwater rescue and recovery missions every year, but the Coast Guard says it's no longer a priority. Tina Lovegreen has been following this story for us, so Tina, take us through it. What's behind the change?
Well, Andrew, the Coast Guard says the team is not a core part of its search and rescue mandate. So it's decided to cut the program and invest the $500,000 worth of savings into other programs. It says this, along with other investments like the $1.5 billion Ocean Protection Plan, will improve marine safety.
BC will see 4 new lifeboats added to the coast. We're going to invest in new radars to cover the blind spots that we've had for many years. We're going to invest in new radio towers to address the dead zones that we've known that have been out there for some time. And so there is, in fact, a massive investment in search and rescue in British Columbia that's taking an all-coast approach. So at the end of the day, we expect to see mariners across BC better protected.
Now, this isn't the first time the program has been canceled. The last time happened back in 2001, again because of cost effectiveness. But 2 days later, tragedy struck. A man crashed his vehicle into the Fraser River not far from the Sea Island base. The dive team wasn't able to save him because their equipment had been taken away. Then, in 2002, a fishing vessel named Cap Rouge 2 capsized near the mouth of the river, but new rules prevented the dive team from entering sunken ships or vehicles. So by the time they got the people trapped inside the Cap Rouge, all 5 had drowned. When we reminded the Coast Guard of that event, the response was, that's the minority of cases.
The challenge around the kind of scenario that you talk about, they vary greatly from time to time. And I won't get into statistics and the rarity of those. Indeed, most of the time the dive team arrives on scene, it's a body recovery, not a rescue.
But critics disagree. NDP MP Finn Donnelly says it doesn't make sense to cut a department that could save even one life.
Not tell a family that has lost a loved one that, you know, we saved a few $1,000s at your expense.
Right. Okay. And so it's one thing to look at the numbers and to try to crunch them one way or the other, but I guess the ultimate question is, what would the Coast Guard do if they did encounter a situation where somebody needed rescuing and they needed divers?
Well, the Coast Guard says it has the capability still to do surface rescues. And if it needs assistance of a dive team, it will lean on local agencies such as Municipal Services or the RCMP. But here's the thing. The RCMP dive team is only responsible for the recovery of evidence and human remains. Underwater rescue is not in its mandate. So right now, there's no clear answer. The Coast Guard says it's going to be discussing a transition plan. And in the meantime, it will keep the dive team in place until all those things have been worked out.
But then what happens to the dive team after all of the changes do take place? I mean, how many of them are there?
Right. So there's 15 members to that dive team, and the Coast Guard says they'll be reassigned. There are jobs available like running the hovercraft, but whether they'll want to take those jobs is a different story.
Okay. Tina, thanks very much.
You're welcome.